more than 90% of votes counted, Colombia's conservative parties are set to come out on top in the country's elections. They opposed a 2016 peace deal signed between the government and FARC rebels, which ran as a political party for the first time on Sunday. It seems no party has an overall majority, although provisional results suggest ex-President Alvaro Uribe's Democratic Center Party won the most seats. As expected, the FARC performed poorly, with analysts suggesting their power has dissipated with the downing of weapons. However, the party will still receive 5 seats in each of the parliament's 2 chambers, as per the peace accord. Colombians will vote on a new president in May to replace Juan Manuel Santos, who engineered the 2016 deal. FARC rebels fought with Colombia's government for over 5 decades in a guerrilla war that killed over 250,000 people.
Cubans have voted to ratify a new National Assembly, a key step before a president is selected next month. The election is significant as it marks the start of major political change at the top of Cuba. The communist-ruled island is preparing to be led for the first time in nearly 60 years by someone outside the Castro family. President Raúl Castro voted on Sunday in the southeastern province of Santiago de Cuba. The 86-year-old has been in charge since 2006 after taking over from his ailing brother Fidel. First Vice President Miguel Díaz-Canel, who is tipped to be Castro's most likely successor, cast his vote in the central Santa Clara province.
Five people are dead after a helicopter carrying 6 crashed into New York's East River, a spokesperson has confirmed. The pilot freed himself. 2 of the passengers were pronounced dead at the scene, and 3 others died in hospital after being recovered by emergency divers. Witnesses watched as the helicopter plunged into the chilly water.
Within literally a minute, it was completely submerged, and all that was there was the yellow raft. And then we saw someone on top yelling.
Someone climbed out of the helicopter and then
was on top of the yellow raft, screaming help and waving his arms like this, and we were waving back and yelling that help was on the way.
Authorities say the Eurocopter AS-350 came down near Roosevelt Island at around 7 p.m. An investigation into the cause of the crash is underway.
Dozens of people are feared dead after a passenger jet crashed while landing at Kathmandu airport in Nepal. About 67 passengers were thought to be on board. 17 have been rescued and taken to hospital. The plane, operated by US Bangla Airlines, took off from the Bangladeshi capital Dhaka and was scheduled to land in Kathmandu at 2:15 p.m. Dramatic images from the scene posted on social media show the crumpled wreckage near Kathmandu's international airport. Officials say the Bangladeshi craft became unstable while descending, veered off the runway and burst into flames. One witness said the fuselage was reduced to ashes. Mountainous Nepal is notorious for air accidents. Small aircraft often run into trouble at provincial airports.
In 2015, these images made it onto television screens around the world. 2 Air France executives, their shirts ripped off their backs, forced to scale a fence to escape a mob of thousands of employees, many of them union members, furious about a huge restructuring plan. Today, 12 former and current Air France workers will appear before the Paris Court of Appeal, charged with violence and vandalism. In 2016, 3 were handed suspended sentences of 3 to 4 months, a 4th was released, and 8 others were given €500 fines. The new trial opens in a different context. Air France has turned its finances around, and the unions that protested in 2015 are now striking to claim what they say is their share of the pie.
The most dramatic political change in China in decades, a vote to scrap term limits for China's president. Put in place in the 1980s, now history. The move clears the way for Xi Jinping to stay in power indefinitely and possibly for life. Of nearly 3,000 ballots, only 2 voted against the unprecedented move. triggering fears of a return to an era of strongman rule the country has not seen since Mao Zedong.
This is a clear message from Xi Jinping to all within China. Don't challenge me. I'm going to be around for a long time.
Across China, there's growing anxiety among those troubled by the limitless power of one man. Xi has overseen a crackdown on lawyers and activists and punished thousands of officials for corruption. Government censors have been in overdrive to smother criticism, erasing social media posts and banning searches for terms like constitution and emigration.
The worry is that a slide to autocratic rule could cause instability here, which could mean a more precarious relationship for the U.S. on big issues like trade and North Korea.
Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets calling for the release of 2 Greek soldiers detained in Turkey amid rising tensions between Athens and Ankara. Around 5,000 people rallied in the northern border town of Orestiada on Sunday to demand the pair's release. This protest is for our 2 boys who are being held. We expect answers and we expect them to be returned. Greece says the soldiers were on patrol when they inadvertently strayed across the border in bad weather nearly 2 weeks ago. So far, Turkey has refused to free the 2 men who are being held on grounds of spying and entering a prohibited military zone. We want to cultivate a spirit of friendship and we want to show this in action. Our message is that our boys should return home as fast as possible. Orestiada's cycling club held its own protest by riding to the border in a show of solidarity for the detainees. Greece's defence minister, who has ordered extra patrols along Greece's frontier with Turkey, has described the 2 soldiers as hostages. From the Greek-Turkish border, our correspondent says the 2 soldiers were arrested a few hundred metres behind me and for the moment are still being held in jail in Turkey. The Turkish army says it's neutralised almost 3,400 so-called terrorists since the start of its Afrin offensive in northwestern Syria. Turkey's General Staff made the announcement by the Anadolu news agency. After weeks of fighting, Turkish forces allied with the Free Syrian Army are said to be on the outskirts of the city of Afrin. Despite the speed of their advance, this Syrian analyst said, "These are all rush tactics and it's about politics rather than security. Although pro-Syrian government forces are unable to resist the advancing Turkish army, it does not necessarily mean the Afrin operation will be easy, because there will be huge humanitarian and political consequences." Ankara launched Operation Olive Branch in late January with the aim of eliminating Kurdish YPG militia, which it describes as a terrorist group. The Turkish military advance comes amid reports that some people in Afrin are preparing to act as human shields to protect the city.
UK Finance Minister Philip Hammond says Britain will respond appropriately if a foreign state is found to have been involved in the suspected poisoning of a former Russian spy.
If there were to be an involvement of a foreign state evidenced by this investigation, then obviously that would be very serious indeed, and the government would respond appropriately.
The former double agent Sergei Skripal and his 33-year-old daughter Yulia were left in a critical condition on March the 4th after being found unconscious on a bench in the southern English cathedral city of Salisbury. The British media is rife with speculation that Russia could have played a part in the attack. British police say a nerve agent was used but have not said publicly which one. Skripal betrayed dozens of Russian agents to British intelligence before his arrest in Moscow in 2004. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison in 2006. In 2010, he was given refuge in the UK after being exchanged for Russian spies. On Saturday, Interior Minister Amber Rudd said it was too early to say who was responsible.
Televidente Espacio Comercial, ora nossa back e deporte, o colega Carl Reuter.